Live from the Export Beer Garden studio, this is the Agenda podcast for Friday the 26th of April.
The Agenda, an alternative commentary collective podcast.
Good morning to those of you still in the office, for those of you who haven't taken Dupont across from Anzac Day through into the weekend, which I think is about 90% of the workforce at the moment because there is no one in the office still from school holiday hell down there in Taupo. G Lane joins me. G'day Lane, how are you getting on today?
Oh, I'm good, mate. I can see the finish line is ahead of me. I can see there's light at the end of the tunnel. Back at school on Monday. But yeah, I think most people are doing the Le Pont. The Le Pont is the French term for whenever there's a public holiday close to a weekend. It's an unofficial rule. You don't have to take leave. You just take the day off. And it's called Le Pont.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of Le Ponts going on right now.
Not to be confused with Antoine Dupont.
No.
Yeah, no, I think
not at all.
Most people have done that today at work. Again, parks everywhere around the building. No one at their desks. So a lot of Le Ponts going on in here. Whereabouts in Taupo did you watch the Warriors yesterday afternoon?
On a laptop, Manaia on a laptop, and I tell you what, I was pretty pumped in the first 5 minutes. I'd placed quite a number of ridiculous bets on try scorers for the Warriors, and when it was 12-0 after 5 or 6 minutes, I had immediately cracked into my fourth beer, and then it completely unraveled.
Yeah, it did. We got up 12 points to nil within, like you said, like 5-10 minutes. And after that, it was just all downhill. There were a lot of texts coming through on the commentary saying, did G Lane show up late to the game? And that's what's cursed us. But no, you weren't at the game. You were down in Taupo.
That's right.
27-24 was the final scoreline. And actually, I got to say, despite how disheartening the first half was, all told, and the start of the second half was a bit grim as well, it was actually a good game. It was quite back and forth. It was quite tense, quite tight. The problem is that the Titans baked to the bottom of the tin as far as the NRL table is going. And so this will be reported as a horrific loss to the Warriors on Anzac Day. But I actually quite enjoyed that game. Did you?
I can't say I enjoyed it, to be honest. I was gutted at the fact that they couldn't finish them off. The worst defensive team in the league. And and it turned out that the Warriors were potentially the worst defensive team in the league. I don't know. It was hard to enjoy. I find games hard to enjoy when the Warriors do that. And they come back at the end, and they always come back and make a game of it, and they keep you in it. It's like it's a tease.
Yeah.
The Warriors are a massive tease. And I couldn't stomach it. I just couldn't deal with it.
No,
but I mean, there was some good punting on your behalf, though. I think we collected, $900 from that game?
Yeah, we did. The first one was David Fafita to score a try, and that was just based off the fact that we had a youngster in Jacob Laban defending him. And, this is no shot at Jacob Laban. Any second rower in the league is going to have a hard time defending Dave Fafita, so I thought for sure that was going to come in, and it did. And we also got on Adam Whenua-Blake, first, second or third try scorer, and I think he was the second. So yeah,
yes.
All up the ACC racked up about $900 in punts yesterday. It felt a little dirty betting on Dave Fafita to score, but you know what? We filled the kitty.
Yeah. That's the great thing about punting as well. Is from the depths of despair you can find some joy, and that's what we did yesterday.
Yeah, it wasn't quite happiness insurance as such, but it was. I just sort of thought I'd seen into the crystal ball there and plucked that one out. I mean, we'd all like to write our own reviews after the bet has come off, because if he didn't score, I wouldn't have talked about this at all.
There you go.
But $900 in punts yesterday was a good day for the TAB. We've got another punt to chuck on later on in the podcast. We'll get to that very shortly. But I just wanted to touch on the fact that yesterday, Anzac Day, lest we forget, everybody in Australia and New Zealand had the day off. And the NRL looked at that and said, well, we'll chuck 3 games on then, just like they did with Easter. So if you lived in Australia yesterday, here's how your day went. You got up, dawn service, down to the RSL for a few pints, a few jugs, a few games of 2-up, maybe a few punts, and then at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the NRL started with that game, the Warriors versus the Titans, then into another game, and then into the regular Thursday fixture. The NRL do such a good job of marking these occasions. Meanwhile, what has Super Rugby done? They've got an Anzac round that doesn't start till 7 o'clock tonight. It's just one of those things that the NRL's just got their finger on the pulse of these kind of things, don't they?
Yeah, and the thing is with the Super Rugby, I mean, tomorrow, Saturday, is an absolute sportsgasm. There is Moana Fiji kick-off at 2. There's a game at 4. There's a game at 7, and there's a game at 9:30. If they'd had that, imagine if they'd had that on Anzac Day. So you would have, like you were saying, you would have had your services, your beers, then you would have kicked off at 2 o'clock with Fiji, Moana, and then into a 4 o'clock game, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock. It's back-to-back. But instead, they're going to save it for Saturday.
Yeah, and this is what the NRL does such a good job of, is once you sit down on your Saturday, Sunday afternoon, and you watch that first game, they've got you. The action doesn't stop throughout the whole thing, and they can do that because the games don't go over. So there's never that they can schedule them 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours. Whereas in rugby union, you can't because you don't know how long that game's going to go for. Maybe Super Rugby looked at it and said, why bother competing with these guys on that day? Leave them to blow their load on the Thursday, and then we'll save up all of our games for the Saturday. That could be the only thing. I
don't think that's a bit defeatist. I don't think they would even have the gumption to think that the NRL exists.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So anyway,
that's not how Super Rugby views themselves. We'll get into Super Rugby very shortly, but I just wanted to touch on that. And I think that Aussies do a much better job of Anzac Day in general. You know, the whole two-up thing, everyone gets involved in it. But here in New Zealand, really you go to your dawn service and then maybe you go to the RSA. But generally, I think most people go home, don't they? We don't really have a strong Anzac tradition, do we?
No, we don't. I mean, it's in Australia, the whole two-up thing, which is, if you don't know, it's kind of it's the only time you're allowed to do street gambling in Australia. They've actually got a law that says the only time you can play two-up and is on Anzac Day, and it involves, what does it involve? You throw up a couple of coins.
I've honestly got no idea, and I lived in Australia for a stretch. My family still lives there. Maybe send us in on the voicemail. But you've got 2 coins. You toss one, you toss the other, and somehow you all gamble on it.
Yeah, there's money to be won and lost, pretty much, and it's crazy. It's so Australian, because Australians, they love to punt. Not punt on anything, and I think because they're allowed to do this once a year, and they've got a bylaw saying you can, they go absolutely crazy. I suppose there is a bit more of the RSLs over there are a bigger things. You know what I mean? They've got over here, I think they're still a little bit traditional, but over there, the RSLs are basically your community hubs. They've got everything and anything in them, and it's kind of like your leagues clubs over there, really. So it's a bit more of a tradition there. But I guess, over here, you're right. You just go to the service and then you go home. Yeah,
go home, park up on the couch, just spend a weird day off, unless you've taken tomorrow off, in which case you're leaving wherever you live. I don't know. I think we need to work on that, just as a people. And just one last thing on the Warriors before we move on is huge omen to start that game. They delivered the ball to the ground in a helicopter, and I thought this is absolutely excellent. I did worry a little bit that it was Mike Hosking who'd brought his own helicopter in there to drop the ball off, but it wasn't. It was the Air Force.
Would have been how magnificent would that have been if he got out in a smoking jacket, like some sort of crushed velvet purple jacket, which he tends to wear quite a lot.
Yeah.
A bottle of wine and a big bowl of a glass, and got out and just walked to the stands. That would be magnificent.
It would have been, but it would have absolutely lost them. Geez, I'll tell you what, the old Pinot Noirs have gone quiet, and probably for the best. I think we don't give them any more airtime on this either.
That's right. Yep.
Draw a line under them. All right, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and talk a little bit more sport. Overnight, Lane, the Black Caps won Game 4 against Pakistan, and unbelievably, the series isn't finished. This is a 5-game ODI series that I don't think most listeners to this podcast would have seen a ball of, but it was a pretty resounding win, and they now lead the series 2-1 because of that one washout. I still don't know what to make of this series and what to take away from it.
I think, look, it is what it is. I think it's a development. Both teams are experimenting with their sides. Like Pakistan are rotating players in and out basically getting ready for the World Cup, the T20 World Cup. So I mean, it is a bit of a weird scenario, particularly when you find it's very difficult to watch as well. I don't know where it's on, but good news. Our mate Tim Robinson, who got his debut when he got his middle stump ripped out by Shaheen Afridi, when they only bowled 2 balls in the entire match, he's come back and he scored 51 last night. So that's good to see that Tim Robinson has gotten over that 2-ball duck in game 1 that was abandoned. Well, but 107. They defended 178, and that says something about young bowling attack. O'Rourke got 3 wickets. Neesham closed it all out. They needed 18 off the last over, but Neesham closed it out. So look, I'll take it. There's young guys, Ben Sears, O'Rourke, Tim Robinson. It's good to see.
Yeah, I suppose that's what we take away from this is getting those guys a few more reps. And as I didn't know too much about this Tim Robinson character until he got named in the Black Caps, and then all of a sudden every story is about how he's set this and that record on fire. Then the next thing you hear about him is that they've basically just, I mean, obviously hadn't, but they basically tried to cripple his confidence by putting him out there for 1 ball, get skittled, and then they call the game off. But now to see him get a few, it just means that if he gets called into the squad in the T20 World Cup, then people will be okay with it, as opposed to, who's this guy? Because he's actually done it.
Will O'Rourke getting a 3 as well, 3 for 27. Haven't seen much of him in T20 cricket, O'Rourke. More in the Test arena, so that's good to see. They're punishing good-looking Will O'Rourke. But so they're playing for a series victory on Sunday, back in Lahore, I think, in the same ground that they played the last game at. So I wasn't expecting them to come away from this series with much, to be honest. So I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yep, and a series victory on the line, as you said, on Sunday at stupid o'clock. Super Rugby, as we mentioned before, it is actually quite a good slate of Super Rugby games across this weekend. For the first time in, it seems, a good couple of months, every Super Rugby team from New Zealand will be in action, starting with the Crusaders versus the Rebels tonight. Let's get into our TAB game day, TAB Good Punt for the Agenda podcast. It's treasonous, but $4.20 is just too good to walk away from. So we're getting on the Rebels to beat the Crusaders. I'm going to call this happiness insurance. Call it treason if you must. But the Rebels are 4th on the table. The Crusaders, as we've said, are last. And I just feel like, despite all of the players coming back, this is going to be a tough one for the Crusaders, even though it's at home.
Yeah, I see what you've done there. I mean, it's massively treacherous from you, being a diehard Crusaders fan. I can't believe you're doing it. You're an embarrassment. You should be ashamed of yourself. But Dog Roll is back, and expect big things from Dog Roll. And I've actually put a bit of money on Dog Roll being an anytime try scorer, because he's going to come out absolutely fizzing at the bunghole. Dog Roll, because I think he's going to have to turn this team around. I think there's a lot of expectation on Dog Roll, on Scott Barrett. So, it's a good bet though. 420. When you look at the table, if you're an outside punter, if you were say an American just perusing the odds in New Zealand and looking at the points table and seeing 4th playing last in a 12-team competition, you would stick the house on the Rebels.
Yeah, that's sort of
playing at home.
That's sort of the only reason I have gone for that, is because it just seems like an anomaly. Anytime you see something that doesn't pass the sniff test on the TAB, that's generally where I go. Just in this instance, it happens to be against my own team. I would say, however, that it is very Cantabrian of me to just try and make money over loyalty. So in my defence, that is a very Crusaders bet, to bet against them. They're not a die-hard fan base, they're a die-easy fan base. And so that's what I'm doing. There was a power play that I'm trying to look up now, and it was David Havili to be the last try scorer. He's been named on the bench to come back from his injury, and he's covering pretty much every backline position. He's covering first 5 all the way through back to fullback. And so I know Joe Jury's been sucked in on that one. I can't.
Well, that is something that I brought up with Carl at the TAB in last week's Sportsbook potty, was what happened to the last try scorer option. Because I used to love that, because I used to look at all the benches and just pick someone from the bench. to be the last try scorer, and you're always in the game.
Yeah.
You know, I love the first try scorer. I love the first, second, third try scorer stuff. That's great. But this one kept you to the end. So you're constantly rooting to the end, which so it's good to see that they've maybe just reinvented the last try scorer. And Havili, who are rumoured to be, he's always also back up first five as well.
Yeah, that's right. That was what the big story was, that they were going to play him at first five. I've got to be honest with you. Like, this goes back to my video game theory. Like, if they brought out a PlayStation game of Super Rugby this year and you had the roster that the Crusaders had, you'd put your best player at first five, because in a video game it doesn't really matter where they play. And you'd just put him at first five in the PlayStation game. So good to see that they are potentially thinking about it in real life. And again, last try scorer, he's coming off the bench, so he's going to be fresher than everyone else. And it's paying 21s.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now you're talking.
So it was
21s.
15 boosted to $21. Now, I suspect they're going to make a lot of money off us on this one, the TAB, but I still think if you've got a bonus bet floating around, you know, you could do worse than chucking it on David Hogvilly, last try scorer, at 21s.
Oh, yeah. Nice. And then obviously we've got the Chiefs versus the Tars straight after that tonight. Mm-hmm. I reckon this is a potential banana skin for the Chiefs as well.
Yep.
Playing in Sydney, the Chiefs. And the Chiefs, kind of, my beloved Chiefs mana aren't exactly firing on all cylinders at the moment. So I'm mildly nervous about that one as well, which is very unlike my Chiefs mana overconfidence. Yeah. But it's back. My nervousness is back with the mana. But because the Tars aren't bad. No. They aren't a bad team. So, I don't know. Chiefs on the road. Who knows?
Yeah, I think one of the longest odds that you can get on a favourite at the moment is the Hurricanes. The undefeated Hurricanes are at $1.47 against the Brumbies. And I think people will be put off by the humping that the Blues gave to the Brumbies last week, but I actually don't think that's a fair representation of how good the Brumbies are. So, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's part of the sportsgasm tomorrow, isn't it? There's rugby all up the walls tomorrow because you've got Fiji Moana at 2, Brumbies Canes at 4:30, Landers Force at 7, which we're covering, and then Reds Blues at 9:30. That is, if you're a code head, park up on the couch from 2 o'clock and you won't be finished till 11:30 at night.
Put in a 9-hour shift down the code coal mine.
That is a code coal mine. You're right. That's commitment. If someone's out there who's going to watch every minute of every single one of those games, then good on you. You are a bigger man than me.
To be fair, it's in the right order, because if you were watching all of those games and the last game was Drua versus Pacifica, you'd be doing very well to stay awake for that. But that's actually the 2 o'clock game, so should be good. As you said, massive sportsgasm with Code tomorrow, so enjoy that. And again, our TAB Good Punt is on the Rebels at $4.20. Let's take a quick break because we have a mountain of yours pleases to get through. So, ad break here. We'll be right back with yours please.
Yours please. Brought to you by Leader, home of the lasagna topper.
This is what happens whenever we have a day off, Lane. They just start backing up. So we've got a mountain to get through.
Excellent.
Let's rip straight in. First one here. Call it yours, please.
G'day, mate. Just want your guys' input on who you think the New Zealand Mount Rushmore of sports people is. I'd have a go at Richie McCaw, Dame Lisa Carrington, Sir Richard Hadley, and maybe like a Burt Munro or Scotty Dixon. Cheers, lads.
That's a great question. Mount Rushmore.
That is a great question. That is a great question. And I mean, we could spend a whole podcast on building a Rushmore of athletes, but I think his first three are pretty bang on. I think you've got to get Paddles in there. I think you've got to get Richie McCaw in there. And I think Lisa Carrington, our greatest ever Olympian, in there. Not sure about Dixon.
No.
Or, I mean, maybe, like, I'd argue if you're going to go to motor racing, it'd be Bruce McLaren more than anything in terms of a Rushmore. But yeah, we could spend a long time talking about this.
We could, but I do think that you're right. There's only 2 spots up for grabs because I think that Paddles and Richie McCaw cover off our 2 biggest bases, which are rugby and cricket. And I think that there's quite a clear winner in both of those. I'd probably throw Jonah in there.
Ooh.
I know we're going 2 rugby onto the Mount Rushmore, but I just think in terms of I don't think we've had a sporting superstar as big as Jonah was.
Yeah, you're right. He was global, wasn't he? I think we underestimate how big he was worldwide.
Yeah.
He was massive in France, England, Ireland. He was the biggest name in sport.
And I don't want to besmirch the name of our great Dame Lisa Carrington, the goat in the boat.
But you're about to, though, aren't you?
But I'm about to. A lot of medals, yes, but I do kind of wonder, this is like my Michael Phelps issue, is there's just a lot of medals on, available for those kind of sports, and I don't want to downgrade the achievements that she's had, but I just think who's meant more to this sport, or to New Zealand? I don't know. When you're just winning, is anyone jumping in a kayak because of that? I just kind of feel like...
Oh, I see what you mean.
I
see what you mean. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Sustained excellence in her craft, no doubt, absolutely. But I just think the vibe, I don't know. I think that fourth one's going to be tough to fill. Richie, Jonah, Paddles. I feel like there's another one that we're missing here.
Yeah, I mean, you could throw in Dame Valerie Adams. You could throw in the rock thrower. But I mean, like you're saying, pretty similar. Are you inspiring other rock throwers? I don't know. Are you growing the rock throwing industry? Don't know.
All right. Maybe you could send us in your voicemails. Who have we missed? I feel like there's a glaring one that we've omitted, but I feel like
I think so too.
Two at least of the three are in there in stone. So hopefully that helped you narrow yours down. But yeah, let us know who we missed. Another one here. Yours, please.
Yeah, g'day fellas. Barry McCoggin here back at it again. Hey, I've got a poem for you. To my dear friend Horatio. It was you, it was me, it was the silence underneath the stars that understood my heartbeat and its racing. I told you nothing, I believed everything. In that moment, I found life and I found you. Fuck the Crusaders!
Jesus, they call me at the end.
Okay, I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what's going on there.
We've jumped the shark now. Well, I don't know if jumped the shark, but we've crossed into some bizarre territory where people are using yours please to send cryptic messages to each other.
It's a weird environment. It's like we've turned into the Discord.
Yeah, or like a backwater Telegram channel for conspiracy theorists. I don't know what's happening.
It's a party line. It's a party line for deep breathers.
Yeah, all right. Another deep breather here. Yours, please.
Oh, good day there, fellas. Fanny Smelly here. I heard you guys on the podcast the other day thinking about placing a bet and forgetting about it and it coming through. What would you call placing a bet? You think it came through and you look on your TAB app and you see that you had put the fucking Dragons to beat the Roosters instead of the Roosters to beat the Dragons. Probably one of those punishing feelings I've had. Anyway, go see you guys' thoughts. See you guys later. Kiss, kiss.
Yeah, this has happened to me so many times, and this is the problem with umming and ahhing over your bet. You have to place it. If you've thought about it, you have to place it, because if you don't place it and it comes in, you'll be gutted. But I have a couple of times thought I'd placed a bet that I hadn't, and it was at massive odds, and I was watching along, and then it came off, and I'm hooting and hollering, crowing around the office, only to check my account, and my fat fingers had hit the wrong thing. It's one of the most heartbreaking feelings.
I talked myself into yesterday when we were watching Adam Fanua-Blake. I thought I'd got on the first, second, third try scorer because I was talking about it with mates I was watching it with. And so I'd convinced myself that I'd gone on it. And when he scored, I was jumping around, fist pumping, and then I looked at my app and I hadn't put it on. It's disappointing. I don't know what word there is. Well, I don't know what word or how we can describe it. I mean, free money was the accidental one. This one just must be just pure disappointment.
It's like the Mandela
effect.
Yeah, the D-shrinker is what it is.
It's a D-shrinker.
It's a massive D-shrinker. Check your bets. All right, another one here. Caller, yours, please.
Oh, g'day, lads. Trev here. Hey, thanks for the great advice. RE duck shooting in a couple of weeks. All noted. Hey, boys are looking pretty sharp this week, though. Custard knees is looking quite quick in the centres. And we've got biscuit shoulders coming off the pine there. Hey, 11th of May, longest bus trip in New Zealand. Hinds to Culverden. Taking on the Huranui Hogs. Great lads up there. Surely the agenda can show face. Grim Lane, Manaia, Matt Heath, see you there.
It's a long way to go. down to Culverton there, North Canterbury?
Yep.
I'm
in.
You're in?
Yeah, I'm in. If we can get down there, look, again, we've got a forum for deep breathers, and now this has turned into a forum for kind of
Mid-Canterbury rugby?
rural Canterbury rugby teams. So I'd love to go down there. I would more than happily go down and watch a bit of rural code. Go back to your Turinga Waiwai, see where it all began.
Yeah, well, North Canterbury's pretty far away. This is the problem with Canterbury. It's so far, the Canterbury Plains. Like, where I'm from is 3 hours south of Christchurch, and where these guys are going is north. But if we can get to the airport, and you guys come pick us up, the bus can swing through the airport there and pick us up, then we might have ourselves a deal.
I'm in.
As if we needed another trip at this stage. We just got through March Madness, and now you're about to go in and tell your long-suffering wife that you're going to watch bush footy for the weekend.
Bush footy.
God bless.
Look, I probably won't tell you the entire truth, to be honest. I'll say I'll go down for some international match.
It's a work trip, is it?
Yeah,
Absolutely it is. All right, another one here. Caller, yours, please.
Yeah, hey gents, thinking of starting up a bit of a Warriors in the Bay of Plenty fan group, travel up for home games, catch up for the away games, good get together. Just trying to think of some names, and I thought I'll put it to you guys. What I've got at the moment is Bunty's Bay Boys, or Plenty of Wars fans in the Bay. What are your thoughts?
Initial thoughts, second one probably too wordy.
Yep.
First one potentially too Bunty focused. There must be some sort of up the wires related pun in there.
Well, yeah. Look, I mean, they're bigger.
Oh, have we lost you?
Zebra, known for their golden kiwi fruits. There is something there. Some sort of. Yeah. Is there a small suburb of Tauranga that we could stick wires onto the end of?
Yeah, Papamoa.
Yeah, there you go. The Papamoas.
Mount Munga. No, there's nothing in there. Moa? Yeah, I don't know. There's something in there. I don't know. Again, there'll be someone out here screaming at their phone right now. Don't just scream at your phone into the void. Hit the little voicemail button and then help us out and help out the Greater Eastern Bay of Plenty Warriors community. It's got to be succinct. Word economy is crucial for these things to get up and running. So, yeah, I don't know. Some zespri, some kiwi fruit, kiwa fruit.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. I'm sure you expected more of us, but we've really let you down here.
Yeah, we have. I mean, look. Let's be honest. Most of our best contact comes from the audience. Yeah. Let's be honest. So let's just throw it back out to them.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go to the ACC Hive Mind on that one. One last one here. Caller, yours, please.
Manaia, I'm not one to throw around the word misogynist very often, but I did notice that yesterday when talking about the Laureus Awards, you mentioned who won the men's award, but not the women's award. Yeah, Djokovic had a good year, but what about Aitana Bonmati, who won the World Cup, the Champions League, the Premier Division in Spain, and then was the player in each of those tournaments, and won the Ballon d'Or, the best female player in the world last year. Couldn't mention that, too busy with your jack-off joke.
You know what? First of all, one of the most clearest and succinct yours please we've had came straight in with "You're a misogynistic pig, Manaia," and I enjoy that straight away. No mucking around, no kind of how are you, how you going, fellas, such and such here. Just straight into the point, and just it did not take a breath for the entire 30-second limit of that voice message. So 10 out of 10 for that guy. You are a misogynistic pig, Manaia.
Yeah, crystal clear audio as well. So look, I will cop that. Like you said, succinct point, and I think it must hold some credence because when he said you're a misogynist, my brain started flicking through the Rolodex of misogynistic things I'd said into a microphone this week to try and guess which particular one of them he was on about, because last night's commentary of the Warriors got very Keezy's mum focused, or people watching with their stepmums.
Yeah, I did notice that. We were watching here, and there was a lot of stepmum chat.
Yeah, that
was starting to get quite filthy as well.
Yeah, we've got to really try and steer away from that. So look, I will apologise for that. There's no doubt. I won't deny the charge of misogyny. It's something I need to work on, and thank you for raising it with me. The fact I didn't talk about her is because I actually hate soccer, not her. And that's why. In this instance, I'm not saying I'm not a misogynist. I'm just saying in this instance, it's because I hate football, not because I hate her. So that would be my defence there, Your Honour.
Hate's a really strong word, Manaia.
Yeah,
you can't hate football.
No, I don't.
You can't hate it.
I don't hate football. It's a blind spot for me, I think, is the biggest problem.
Okay.
Despite that, I do know that the Phoenix are playing tomorrow, and that's the end of their season. There's still a postseason, but they could have their version of the minor premiership if they win their game, and the other team who's playing at the same time lose their game. This is one of the few things that I do enjoy about football is the drama of both games playing at the same time, flicking back and forth to see who's won.
Yeah, that's good, and good on them. I hope they do win the premiership, and that'll be the first piece of silverware for the Phoenix, and well deserved as well. They've snuck under the radar a little bit in terms of media coverage, I must admit. And but good luck to them. I hope they manage to pull it off.
All right, we'll knock this one on the head for Friday. The ACC Sportsbook with Carl Tiley from the TAB will be out later on, so keep an eye out on your newsfeed for that one. I am going to go and take a deep, hard look at myself and rectify some of the misogynistic ways that I've become aware of. Enjoy the last few days of your school holiday hell, and we'll be back on Monday for another episode of the Agenda Podcast.
You've been listening to the ACC's Agenda Podcast. For more episodes, subscribe on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.